كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. نعم.
الباب السادس في الحج.
الباب السادس في الحج. This is chapter 6. We're going to talk about Hajj.
وهو واجب في العمر مرة على حر مكلف المستطيع.
Okay, so Hajj, unlike the other pillars of Islam, هو واجب في العمر مرة على الحر. It is wajib, compulsory, على also مرة في العمر, once in a lifetime. So always scholars are always encouraging people, if you get opportunity to perform Hajj, because it's once wajib, and you got the means to go again, if you can help someone who cannot do it, help them to do it. Because when you help them, you get the full reward of Hajj. When you help someone, because you've already performed Hajj, and you have the means to help, instead of you going second time, it's encouraged to help someone to go, you get full reward of Hajj. But when you go back again by yourself, you get the reward of Umrah. Yeah, because once it's compulsory, any addition is sunnah. So when you push yourself and go back again, you get the reward of Umrah, not Hajj. Now,
The Prophet ﷺ did
once.
but there's one that he was rewarded for or something like that.
He was going, the first one, and then he was going for Umrah anyway. And then they stopped him and they said, you are not allowed to come in until 4 years' time, 8 years' time. And then they later broke their own covenant. But then the next coming time when they were supposed to go to Hajj, he did not go. He made Abu Bakr lead. So Abu Bakr, that is when the new verse was revealed, and he said, Sayyidina Ali should read, but Abu Bakr should lead the affairs. And Shia took all that and said that it is evidence that says that Ali has to be the Khalifa. Now,
المكلف
so number is supposed to be once in a lifetime. على الحر, also على الحر, a free person, not a slave. Al-Mukallif, someone who has reached the age of puberty. Al-Mustati', someone who can do it. So if you have the money, you are a free person, you've reached the age of puberty, but you are weak in terms of health, you are not, it's not compulsory. Others even said if you don't have time, depending on what your lifestyle is, it won't be compulsory. But we'll look at it what they say here. Or you are strong enough, you've reached the age of puberty, you have time, but you don't have money. It's not compulsory. So there are a lot of things that will be. So if you look at Hajj being once, also there are, that's why even in the hadith of Jibril, he said, Man istata'a ilayhi sabila. Okay, those that have the means to be able to go. The means can be money, can be time, can be health, and all that included. Now,
ولا يصح إلا من مسلم وله
Hajj is
أربعة
not
أركان.
permitted. لا يصح إلا من مسلم. You have to be a Muslim to perform Hajj. وله أربعة أركان. It has 4 rukun, 4 pillars.
الأول
Al-awwal, number 1,
الإحرام.
al-ihram, that is intention, and also the clothes that we put on, that is the ihram, the white clothes that men put on to perform the Hajj. But when we talk about general, we just say ihram, that's the intention. You make the intention of performing, because women don't wear the white. They wear their own clothing with the intention, and automatically it becomes the ihram.
بزمن مخصوص.
And also, bizamanin makhsus, it has to be at a specific time. You cannot make ihram today or tomorrow, because it has to be zamanin makhsus. The intention will go from Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and Dhul Hijjah, 3 months. So those are the Ashharul Hurum. So all these 3 months from Shawwal, you can make intention of Hajj and get the ihram on and wait until, depending on which type of Hajj you're going to do, Kiran, Ifrad, Tamattu'. Now,
وهو شوال.
the months are here. The first one is Shawwal, the month of Shawwal. Now,
ذو القعدة.
Dhul Qa'dah, also the month of Dhul Qa'dah, you can make the intention from then.
وذو الحجة.
And also Dhul Hijjah. So those are the 3 months. Which month is Shawwal? Of course, we know immediately after Ramadan. So in the past, the scholars of the past, immediately after the Eid prayer of Eid al-Fitr, they start campaigning and giving lectures about Hajj. Because from that time, Ashhurul Hurum. Sitta Shawwal, you do it from that time on, is the time you can make Ihram and then go to Hajj. Or be in the white and then go and perform your Umrah if you want. If you're going to do, let's say you're going to do Kiran. Kiran, Hajj and Umrah combined. So if you make the intention of that in Shawwal, you put on the white gown, whatever is haram or not permitted for Hajj, it becomes haram. From that time on, you just perform Umrah and you still leave the clothes on you until the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. Yes.
So how about people that used to live very far away and then they make the intention, say like around Shawwal time, and they start.
And then they start walking those days. So yes, so that's it. So that means automatically what they need to, because normally we have miqat, places where you're coming from and where you can take the ihram. But also depending on your journey, you can take ihram from wherever you start in your journey. The moment you put on the white cloth and then make the intention, automatically intention is done. So from then onwards, some things become haram. If you're traveling with your wife, she become haram. All right. Also, if you are not married and you cannot make like proposed marriage in that, you can't. And also, marriage cannot be accepted in that until you finish. Okay. So that is one. If you are doing tamattu', then you make the intention. You perform umrah. You have the haircut. You take it off and put your normal clothing until the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. Then you put it on again. If you're doing Kiran, normally it's for the people of Mecca anyway. So they will wait until the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, they make the intention, and then they join people in Mina and perform Hajj.
Sheikh, is it necessary that it's Medina or no? Like
No. They are different places, depending on where you're coming from. People just go to Medina. Some people, when they're traveling to Hajj or Umrah and their plane is going through, let's say Dubai, they'll make intention there and then dress up from Dubai. I remember several times I was on the way, I see people already, they shower there and then make the intention and then go. Yeah, so it's not necessarily in Medina. Medina is just people, just because they will perform Hajj and they will go to Medina, or perform Umrah and go to Medina. So most people will prefer going to Medina first, and then on the way they will take the Ihram and go. Yeah, but you don't have to. Yeah, I think last time, for example, our group, we went to Mecca, perform our Hajj and finish Umrah and finish everything, and then we went to Medina, relax, and then we came back. Yeah. So you don't have to. It means that if you want, you can just get all the way to Mecca, do whatever you want to do. Then you go to Masjid al-Aisha, because now you become a local person. You go to Masjid al-Aisha, then you make intention of going to perform Umrah. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are coming from overseas or whatever, they will show us where we need to take our ihram, from which part. Now that's what we're going to look at. So number one, ihram, and that is to look at from the specific timing, and that is from Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and then Dhul Qa'dah and Dhul Hijjah. وَمَكَانٍ مَخْصُوص. And also it has to be, the intention has to be at a specific place.
وهو مكة للمقيم.
So Makkah lil-Muqim, those who live in Mecca, their intention will be in Mecca. That is those who go to Masjid al-Aisha and outskirts of Haram, make intention and come back.
فيها وقت الإحرام.
So that's those who live in Mecca at the time of Ihram, they will make their intention in Mecca.
وذو الحليفة.
وذو الحليفة لمن توجه من Medina. So if you're coming from Medina, there's a place called Dhul Hulayfa. If you are in the bus, it does not take much. If you are in the train, within 5 minutes of the station, straight away, they will announce you are almost getting to Mikat, make intention. Okay, that is the place they call Dhul Hulayfa. So there, they have a masjid there. The Prophet ﷺ stop and make the intention there. So they have a masjid, they have multiple showers there. You stop, have a shower, and then put on your ihram, enter the masjid, pray 2 rakat, and then you start the talbiyah. Okay? Labbaik al-umrah, then you start Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Labbaik al-hajj, in terms of which one? Tamattu', Kiran. The moment you make the intention, you start Labbaik Allah until you go to Makkah.
So anywhere in Medina, you can't make intention until
No. So normally what we do is, because you are heading towards Makkah and there's a place for that. So you can have shower in your hotel, dress up in your hotel, and then you just sit in the bus or in the list. So when you get there, if it's a bus, it will stop. So if you stop, instead of having shower and dress up, you already had that, you just go into the masjid and pray 2 rakats. But if you are in the train, it does not stop. So what you do, when it reaches there, it will just announce. From here, you can make the intention. So make the intention, and then you start. There's no any distance there. Now,
وجهفة لمن توجه من مصر.
so those that are coming from Egypt, Sham, which is Syrian part, well, and also those that are coming from Morocco. So from those area, they will make their intention when they reach Juhfa. So when you are in the airplane, they will announce it as well.
ويلملم
Yeah, Yalamlam, yes, that's the next place.
لمن توجه من اليمن.
Those that are coming from Yemen, that is the other side. So those who are coming from Yemen will be, I think, when you look at it from that side, will be the same applies to those that are coming from Ethiopian side, or because they are coming from the bottom. So they can also make their intention if they are in the aeroplane from Yalamlam, they will announce and they can make their intention from there.
وذات عرق لمن توجه من
Another place
فارس.
that is called ذات عرق, that is liman توجه min Faris, from Persia wa Khurasan, like those Afghanistan and those area, they will also make their intention from there.
ولا ينعقد إلا بنية مقرونة بقول أو فعل.
So also intention, aqd here is just to have the intent. It has to be niyat. You cannot make or dress up or start it unless you have the intention that is attached with the action of the saying. What do you mean by action of the saying? The action here is to have your dress on, and also you say the and then you start the talbiyah straight away. Now,
ويستحب للمحرم إزالة شعثه قبل الإحرام.
so for a person who is going to perform Hajj or Hajj we're talking about here, so we stick to Hajj word. Those that are starting Hajj, it is encouraged for them إزالة شعثه. Sha'th means dirt, filth, any filthy stuff on your body, which means to have a shower before. That's basically that. All right. So the ghusl that we normally do is sunnah in this. It's not part of the pillars. Okay. So it's encouraged يستحب للمحرم, for a person who is going to be in ihram, إزالة شعثه, to take all the dirt on his body قبل إحرامه, before he put on the ihram or make the intention.
بقلم أظافره.
As part of this impurity or dirt that he needs to take, بقلم أظافره, to cut on or to clip the nails,
وإزالة ما على بدنه
من شعره, and also shave parts of his body that is hairy, like his armpit, and if possible any part, especially with the armpit, because when you have the ihram no top on, so lifting your hands here and there with people around, it's better to clean it before you put on the ihram.
وسنن الإحرام أربعة.
Now we finish with the compulsory aspect. Now ihram has sunnah, and here are the sunnah. وسنن الإحرام أربعة. There are also 4.
الغسل
متصل به. Now, first of all, al-ghusl, which is to have ghusl, متصلا به, that is connected with the ihram.
وتجرد من المخيط في الرداء وإزار
نعم.
والنعلين.
Now, وتجرد, التجرد, which is detachment, من المخيط في رداء وإزار. So here we need to be very careful the language we're going to use, because what they said is you detach yourself as male, of course, from any robe or wrapper or something that you cover that has been sewn. So you are not allowed to wear anything that was sewn like a clothing. But we need to remember that the cloth has been sewn in a way, okay? But what they mean here is basically any clothes that has been sewn, like a shirt, like a pant, like those are what you cannot. So detachment in that means to take any clothing off and only have a wrapper on the bottom and then also the one on the top. So the one on the bottom is the rida, and then the one on top is izar.
ونعلين.
And also na'alaini, you cannot wear any covered shoes. So that's why we have slippers and sandals and stuff like that, but not covered shoes for the Umrah. The moment you have intention, anything that is complete in terms of clothing, you don't wear it. Now,
وصلاة ركعتين
Then you make 2 rakats of prayer.
من غير
All this, as we
فريضة.
said, is sunnah. That is why when you are in the train, it doesn't bother. As long as you make the intention is enough. But if you stop at the masjid like you are in the bus, then you go into the masjid and pray. Or if you are in Mecca and you go to Masjid al-Aisha, you then they make the intention, enter the masjid, pray 2 rakats, then you come out and then go. Because it's sunnah. Min ghairi faridatin, it's not compulsory.
وتلبية
And of course, we do the talbiyah. The talbiyah, it has, of course, its own meaning, which inshallah, let's look at it first.
وهي لبيك اللهم لبيك.
When you say labbaik Allahumma labbaik, the word labbaik basically means, Ya Allah, we answer your call twice. It's not just once. When you say labbaik, if someone called you and say na'am, that is the response. But when someone call you, you say labbaika, you are answering double. So that is the answer you do to Allah. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. That is what you keep saying. ولا يقطع التلبية حتى يدخل مكة. So from the place you make the ihram, you keep saying this لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. You keep repeating this. You don't stop until you enter Mecca. So if you are in the bus, you're looking at another 4 hours of doing this. Don't worry, most people will even fall asleep. But that is the idea. You keep doing that instead of chatting and talking about worldly things. You keep going with the talbiyah. Hatta yadkhula makkata. You guys get tired?
Wallahi, I would just stop and
Imam fell asleep.
fell asleep.
نعم.
فإذا طاف وسعى عاودها
نعم. فإذا طاف. When you get Makkah, tafa, and then make tawaf. So which means that the moment you start tawaf, you have to stop the talbiyah. But basically, it's not the moment you start tawaf. The moment you enter the masjid, we have dua of the holy masjid. And then when you see the Kaaba, there is another dua you say. So then you walk all the way to where the black stone is. That is Rukun al-Yamani here, and then we got Hajar al-Aswad. At the corner of Hajar al-Aswad is this corner, and the door of the Kaaba is here. So when you walk all the way Hajar al-Aswad, your shoulder exactly at the corner of Hajar al-Aswad, you will see a green light on your right telling you this is the starting point. From there, that's where you start your tawaf. So when you will stop the talbiyah until you finish the tawaf. Wasa'a, and also after the tawaf, you do sa'a. So it's sa'i, which means you go Safa and Marwa. So immediately after tawaf, what you do is you go next to Maqam Ibrahim, pray 2 rakats. Because if it's busy, you don't need to stand just next to it directly. You can go as far that Maqam Ibrahim is in front of you, behind him is the Kaaba. Alright, so you're still facing the Kaaba. In between you and the Kaaba is Maqam Ibrahim. So you pray 2 rakats. Okay? In that situation, if you want, you can go around, after you finish the 7th, you can go around all the way next to Rukun al-Yamani, before where the Hajar al-Aswad is, and you can touch the Kaaba. All right? Before you then walk to Safa and Marwa. But you don't stop your tawaf to go and touch the Kaaba. And also, if you get the opportunity, you are closer to the black stone, you are allowed to kiss. If you cannot, just say Bismillah, Allah Akbar. That's enough. All right? It is not part of the arkan of Hajj or Umrah. Touching the stone will not add any reward. So, and also there is what we call Hijr al-Ismail, the half circle around. If you go through that, your tawaf is not complete, because it means that you go through the Kaaba, because that part is part of original Kaaba. All right? So sometimes you might be lucky when they are allowing people to pray in there. When you pray in there, it's exactly equal as if you prayed inside the Kaaba. Remember, no extra reward. So don't push yourself and kill yourself for nothing. And anything haram of Makki is different from haram al-Madani. Haram al-Makki, all the boundaries. So for example, you can drive about 10-15 minutes from haram going to Arafah. Just before Arafah, haram barrier is there. Any part of the barriers of haram, if you pray, you get equal reward as if you prayed inside the Kaaba. So most of your hotels are within haram. You get that? So sometimes to pray, the reward is the same. The difference is Haram al-Madani does not have that. Haram al-Madani, even though they make it 25, 25, 25, 25 here, you have to be in the masjid to get the reward of the. But Haram al-Baki, any part around the barriers, if you are within the barriers of Haram, if you pray, you get equal reward as you pray next to the Kaaba. So, you stop your talbiyah until you finish the tawaf, and also you do the sa'i, which is going between Safa and Marwa 7 times. Then then you go back to the talbiyah again.
لرواح مصلى عرفة.
So that will mean that from that time onwards, for those that have been delayed, in terms of those that are there for many days, you're still if you are in tamattu, which means that you still, no, if you are in tamattu, you take your ihram. But if you are among those that are doing kiran, they combine umrah and hajj together, it means you're still in ihram. So every now and then you have to keep repeating that for how many days? Until the day of Arafah. Everyone will then go on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah to Mina, sleep over, and the next day, Arafah. So on the way until the day of Arafah, you keep doing that. If you get to Arafah, that's where you make your own dhikr, make reading Quran and making dua and doing the talbiyah again, over and over.
وأوجه للإحرام أربعة.
وأوجه الإحرام أربعة. Ihram has 4 types of faces. وأفضلها. So which means that we're talking about Hajj. Okay? Ifrad is more important. But as أفضلها إحرام Ifrad. That is the Hajj only. But remember what do we say? For those that are living in Mecca, most often they are those who perform just Hajj.
وهو أن يحرم بالحج.
That is for a person who is performing this type of Hajj, he will make intention of Hajj only and then put on the Ihram on. Mufradan, singular, no umrah attached to it.
ثم إذا فرغ من أفعال حج
يسن له أن يحرم بأمرة. So if that person, when he finished the Hajj, then it's sunnah for him at that moment, or it is easier for him at that moment to just follow the same ihram to perform umrah. Now,
وإحرام الرجل.
إحرام الرجل for a male, what do you mean by ihram? في إحرام الرجل في وجهه ورأسه, which means that his hair and his face are his ihram. He does not cover them. Those places will not be covered.
فيحرم عليه
سترهما. So it is haram for him to cover his hair. You cannot put a cap on. You cannot also cover your face. But let's say, for example, at the time of COVID or whatever, you have sickness, you just put a small mask, that's fine. All right? Or maybe it is really hot and you have a small umbrella, it's still fine. But you cannot put a cap or part of covering or even your ihram to just put it on your hair. You don't do that.
بما يعد ساترا.
With whatever that will be considered satir and covering, like a cap or maybe hijab or amama, like a turban. Yes, well, hiraqa. So just like any cloth that you put on, like the way they do, you can't do that.
وكل ما ينتفع به من الحر والبرد ويحرم عليه لبس خاتم.
So that is still for male. We're not talking about women. Here we say also anything that will cover وكل ما ينتفع به من الحر استغفر الله من الحر, anything that you will be using because of what? Heat to cover, أو البرد, or because of cold to cover yourself. You are not allowed to do that, as I said, except umbrella, because it's not on you directly, on top of you, just holding it, so there's gap in between your head and that. وَيَحْرُمُ عَلَيْهِ اللُّبْسُ الْخَاتِمِ. And also for a male, while performing Hajj, they don't wear a ring, so they will take it off.
وإحرام المرأة.
For women, ihram
في وجهها
is her face and kaffay and her palm. So women normally, they don't, even if they are niqabis, they don't cover their face in that time. And others said when they finish first 3 tawaf, then they can cover. But generally they don't cover until they finish all.
ولها أن تسدل على
ولها أن تسدل على وجهها ثوبا لأجل الستر. So here, that is where they said that if they finish first 3, then they can just put a small cloth halfway just to cover their face if they are niqabis. Nah.
ولا تغرزه بإبرة ونحوها.
But she should not hold it with a pin or something else. Nah.
ويحرم على المحرم.
But here women are not, it's not haram for her, their ring, they can leave it on, just for men. Okay?
مس طيب.
So also the moment you get into ihram, so before ihram you have a shower, you can put on deodorant, you can put on perfume on you, not on the cloth. The moment you put on the cloth, perfume, deodorant all become haram. You cannot touch them anymore. That's why it's very dangerous for those that are performing umrah and they go push themselves, take their ihram, scrubbing the black stone, the Kaaba, because it's always perfumed. Yeah, they always put perfume on those cloths. You don't do that. So you can go and touch it, but you don't just put your distance on it. Yeah, now.
يعلق بالجسد والثوب كالمسك
Okay, so anything ولا تغرز بإبرة, she will not hold it with a pin ونحوه or anything like that. ويحرم على المحرم, and it's also haram for a person in the state of ihram مس طيب to touch or to wipe on perfume. يعلق بالجسد, either on the clothes, on the body, والثوب, or on the cloth that they put on. كالمسك, like misk, والأنبر or amber, ودهن, and any oil that they can put. They are not allowed to do that.
ودهن الرأس.
ودهن الرأس, that's the hair oil.
وتقليم
ظفري, and also you cannot cut or clip your nails as long as you already start.
وإبانة شعر.
And you cannot shave your hair when you start.
والجماع.
You cannot also have jima, which is sexual intercourse.
ومقدمات.
And muqaddimatihi, or foreplay, anything that will lead to the sexual intercourse, you cannot do that as long as you are in the ihram.
ويفسد الحج بالجماع.
If you are performing Hajj and then before you finish the Hajj rituals, you have sexual intercourse with your wife, Hajj is broken, is spoiled.
إن وقع قبل الوقوف.
If this happened قبل وقوف, before Arafah.
أو بعده قبل
Or
الطواف.
after Arafah, but before Tawaf al-Ifada. So after Tawaf, after Arafah, you come to Muzdalifah, you pray Maghrib and Isha and sleep over there. And then the next day, that is the day of Eid, you go and do the first stoning of Jamarat, only one. Then from there you can go and perform Tawaf al-Ifada. From that moment, Hajj is finished. Okay? Any other thing, if you break from that moment, you will only make sacrifice. All right? But before then, if a sexual intercourse happened, then of course you have to make it up. So that is Tawaf al-Ifada.
ورمى جمرات.
And also Warami al-Jamarat, that is the first one, Al-Aqaba, fi yawmin nahri, on the day of Eid, aw qablahu, or before that. So anything that happened in between, before Arafah or after Arafah, but before Tawaf al-Ifada and stoning the Aqaba, the first stoning of Shaitan, and on the day of Eid, then anything that happened in between that, it spoils your Hajj.
الركن الثاني.
Number 2, one of the conditions of Hajj,
الطواف.
At-Tawaf, that is Tawaf, going around the Kaaba, circumambulating around the Kaaba anti-clockwise.
وله واجبات.
It has its own wajibat,
وسنن.
it has its own sunnah,
ومستحبات.
it has its own encouraged things that one needs to do.
فالواجبات
The wajib sita, when we say wajib, we mean the compulsory aspect of Tawaf, 6.
السلامة من الحدث والخبث.
So basically a person should be clean. Salama min al-hadath wal-khabath. You should be free from impurity of your body and also impurity that comes out of your body.
والستر العورة.
And of course covering al-awra, body. So at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, before Islam, the Quraysh, which is the leadership of Quraysh, what they did was they set a law. And that law, it happened, I think, before the death of the grandfather of the Prophet. The new law they set was the Quraysh, they live in Mecca. So they don't have to go to Arafah because they have to protect the Kaaba. And also, Tawaf from that time onwards has to be naked, no any clothing. Yeah, no. You have to go your Rabbana, nothing on. So at that moment, when Islam came back to revive this action, that is where you get the Quranic verse in the Quran, the only verse that spoke about dress up to go to the masjid. خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. That is where this verse was purposely for that. So there's no any verse that say what to wear to go to the prayer. But in this situation, Allah said, when you are going to the Kaaba, you have to cover. So the covering is what we are told now. That is the ihram.
وجعل البيت عن يسار.
And also in your tawaf, as part of the condition, you make the Kaaba on your left, which means you go anti-clockwise. So it's on your left. That is the idea.
والطواف سبعة
Ashwat, and also you make tawaf, sabat ashwat, 7 times.
داخل المسجد
And dakhil al-masjidi, that should be in the masjid, not outside the masjid.
وخروج جميع البدن.
And also you take the whole body. Khuruj Jamil Badan here, basically what it means that you have to expose your right shoulder. Your right shoulder has to be exposed. When you go up to the 3rd one, from the 4th you can cover. There's no problem with that. But it's just better to just leave it throughout. Yeah. So the first 3 also for male is good to throttling whilst doing the tawaf. Not only sa'i, but if you have group of people you're dealing with, you cannot because of the jama'ah. Especially when you have ladies, you have to protect and whatever, you can't do much. But it's encouraged to throtten or to walk faster the first 3. Naam.
عن البيت.
Naam. So that will be أشواط داخل المسجد وخروج جميع البدن عن البيت, and also make sure that the whole body, your body is not touching the building, as some people do. Okay, عن البيت والصلاة ركعتين عقبه, and when you finish the tawaf, then you pray 2 rakats, and that's what we said at the corner of Maqam Ibrahim. If you don't get a space, there's no problem. Anywhere you can do it. The sunnah of the ihram or this is also 5. المشي, you have to walk.
والتقبيل
Hajar al-Aswad بفمه, and if you are closer to the Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone, you kiss it.
في الشوط الأول.
Only on the first one.
إن قدر ولم.
If only you can, in terms of the space, there's no problem. You don't need to push anyone.
ولمس ركن اليمني.
ولمس ركن اليماني. ركن اليماني, if you get opportunity to go and touch it. Okay? في أول شوطا, you can do it on the first. Then you make dua there. Okay?
والدعاء والصلاة على النبي.
And then you said salat ala nabi as well there.
والرمل للرجال.
Rijal, for men, ramlu, they need to do some sort of trotting, a bit like their walk should be a bit faster than normal. The first 3. نعم, the first 3 of the first 3 ثلاثة الأولى. نعم. في طواف القدوم, that is the tawaf of qudum. We're still talking about Hajj. Tawaf al-Qudum, basically the first tawaf when you come to say welcome, or you are making yourself welcome to the Hajj. نعم.
وهو فوق المشي.
That walking is فوق المشي, is like walk, but you haste in there.
ودون الجري.
But it's not running, you don't need to run.
ومستحباته كثيرة.
مستحباته, things that are encouraged in this كثيرة, there are a lot.
منها ترك
كثير
من قراءة القرآن.
You don't need to be reading too much Quran there. So it's mustahab not to read too much Quran there, because this ibadah in the tawaf. So in tawaf, there's no specific thing you need to do. So, but don't make it like a place of reading Quran only, because there are a lot of zikr that you're expected to do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself encourage you to do a lot of zikr when it comes to Hajj. So don't make it just for Quran. That's why I said, تَرْكُ كَثِيرٍ مِنْ قِرَاءَةِ الْقُرْآنِ. Don't do a lot of recitation of Quran only, because you have a lot of things you want to say there.
وترك الكلام.
And also for some people, they talk, they chit-chatting and then go into tawaf. They're talking normal talk. To the extent some people will also call friends and family on live video, you know? So all that is not good, unfortunately.
وإنشاد الشعر.
Inshad al-sha'ri, and also, so we're talking about, the same thing applies to your hair. Don't make it in a way that you just clip it or let it fall.
وترك شرب الماء.
And also, if you can, not to be drinking water while doing all this. If you are thirsty, there's no problem. But don't make it a habit. Try the best, because they said tawaf by itself is like prayer. It's only that you are allowed to speak. All right? So things that you won't do in prayer, don't do that in tawaf. So like talking and stuff like that. Even though you are allowed to speak, make it like darura, only as necessity. Someone is in a situation, no, you come this way. No, someone is just those sort of things, but do not you have important things to do there. That's the idea here.
إلا لعطش.
Unless you're really thirsty, then you can drink water. There's no problem with that.
وليكثر الغريب من الطواف فإنه أفضل في حقه من الركوع.
So also the tawaf is at that moment very important for you than just rushing to go and make ruku, which means to make prayer. Because with the moment you enter Masjid al-Haram, the first thing, instead of any other masjid when we pray, the first thing is Tahiyyat al-Masjid. Haram is not like that. The moment you enter, the first thing is tawaf. Now.
ويستحب لمن جلس في المسجد أن يتوجه
إلى الكعبة. At any time also when you are sitting in the Masjid of Haram, always is encouraged. Not because it's haram not to do that, but it's encouraged wherever you're sitting, make sure that you're facing the Kaaba. Looking at the Kaaba by itself, you got reward.
وتكره القراءة والتلبية فيه.
وتكره القراءة والتلبية فيه. So we spoke about talbiya you do until you enter Masjid al-Haram. There you're not doing labbaik Allahumma labbaik. But don't worry, you see some people still doing that. You don't do it as discouraged. So there is about dhikr. Astaghfirullah, salat al-Nabi, la ilaha illallah, subhanallah, alhamdulillah. Those are the things you keep doing there. Most often, those are the things that are encouraged.
الركن الثالث.
As part of the third pillar of this
السعي
بين الصفا and Marwa, that is going up and down Safa and Marwa.
7
Ashwat, it's also 7 times.
يبدأ
With Safa, you start with Safa and then you end in Marwa. نعم.
ويعد بدأ شوطا ورجعة شوط.
ورجعة شوط. So basically, it's instead of like when you go here and there, it's one. No, if you from here you start Safa. When you get to Marwa, it's 1. When you come to Safa, again, it's 2. When you go back, it's 3. When you come back, it's 4. When you go back, it's 5. When you come back, it's 6. When you go back, it's 7. So you end up in Marwa. Then from there, if it's Umrah, it's finished. You just go out, have a haircut, and then you finish. Now.
ولا يصح إلا بتقدم طواف.
And Safa and Marwa it's not accepted or it's not complete unless you finish tawaf before that. You don't do that before tawaf. Now.
ولا يشترط أن يكون الطواف واجبا.
ولا يشترط أن it's not compulsory that tawaf should be wajib. No, tawaf is not wajib if it's not part of the Hajj or part of the Umrah. Remember, Safa and Marwa also is not part of the masjid anyway. It's outskirts. It's now because of expansion, that's why you find it there. So a person can be tawaf Safa and Marwa, but they don't have wudu. Okay? But a woman cannot get into the masjid if she's in her menses, so she cannot perform tawaf. Alright? But because the Safa and Marwa is after that, she cannot do Safa and Marwa, even though there you can be there without wudu. You get that? Now.
ويستحب فيه شروط الصلاة غير الاستقبال.
So and also يستحب فيه شروط الصلاة. It is also encouraged as part of conditions of prayer. غير استقبال, like as I mentioned, the moment you enter, you don't need to pray the prayer. You don't need to do that. والمكث, and also staying in Safa and Marwa, you don't need to do that. People just stay there you don't need to do that. والدعاء عليهما, on those 2 mountains, you can always make dua, but you don't need to go on them and then pray. You just make supplication, you not do prayer.
وليس في ذلك حد.
There's no also specification on what exactly you can do there.
وليحذر مما يفعله بعضهم من
And stay away from some of the things that people do. من الحجر, from the mountain, from those stones. من الصفا, from the Safa, إلى المروة and Marwa. So some people do some funny things. Just neglect all that. Just stick to your ibadah and get out of the place.
وإنما يسرع الرجل.
You need to be faster in between. There's a green sign also on Safa and Marwa. When you get there, you quicker to the end and then you start walking again.
دون المرأة بين.
But women don't need to do that. And also there's Ahdaraini. So there's 2 green lights that they made mention. We finish this page and then we'll stop inshallah.
ولو رمل في جميع
سعيه أجزاء. If you run through all, it's okay. There's no problem with that.
وقد أساء وكذا لو لم يرمل
بكلية. And also if there's not a big deal, if also you don't run in full in that, there's no problem.
الركن الرابع
The fourth rukun,
الوقوف
that is standing
بعرفة
for Arafah.
ساعة من ليلة النهر
The time, the day before the day of Arafah, the day of Eid.
والوقوف
The wukuf, the
راكبا
standing also
أفضل.
rakiban, you can be rakiban on a mount, afdal. You can be on a mount in terms of on an animal, there's no problem with that.
إلا أن يكون بدابته أذره.
Unless if you have a heavy body like you cannot stand all day, then it's an excuse.
والقيام أفضل من
Standing on the
الجلوس.
floor afdalu min al-julus, better than sitting. So you stand a little bit and then you sit a little bit, but if before the sun set, make sure you're among those that are standing.
ولا يجلس إلا لتعب.
Sit down only if you're tired, but generally it's supposed to be standing at Arafah.
والوقوف نهارا مع الإمام
You should
واجب.
stand with the Imam in the afternoon because that is the day, even whatever the day is, the Imam will give khutbah for Dhuhr prayer.
واجب يجبر بالدم إذا تركه.
So that one also, if you don't do that, you have to then slaughter an animal, which means you need to slaughter an animal, that's the blood, if you don't do that.
والله أعلم.
Wallahu alam, Allah knows best. Inshallah, we'll take Umrah next session. Getting ourselves ready for
just-
Umrah. Yes.
So you're saying where to take intention, where to make